Is there a difference?
This chair was broken.
Oh, it's broken, is it really?
I was like...
Okay, well, I'm sorry.
No, sorry for the faulty equipment.
My bad.
What do you tell Justin when he throws for or ties a school record that he needs to improve upon? What do you find in film that he didn't do well?
Well, yeah, believe it or not, a bunch. When you look at the tape, protections, footwork, a few missed throws, progression issues, some of those things, identifying in the run game kind of, what his role is and what his job is, are all things that he can improve upon. And I think the best part about that is he's one of those guys that wants to be on that chase for the perfect everything, the perfect game, the perfect rep, the perfect everything. And when you get a guy like that who has, what looks like the ability and the willingness, the toughness, that's a lot of fun to coach those kind of guys.
You mentioned last week, I think it was last week, how mental errors really decreased for your squad. I was curious, what were the mental errors like in this game? And also, what's kind of a normal amount of mental errors in a game? What's good? What's bad on the mental error spectrum?
Yeah, that's one thing that it's kind of hard. It's a little bit hard to quantify around that number. We talked about last week 31. We were slightly less than that this week. A lot of times it might be 11 guys on one play. 11 guys checking to the wrong thing, or something of that nature. When you have independently a bunch of guys making, that's where you have to figure out exactly why that happened. Obviously, you want to figure out why everything happened, but some of those bigger chunk things that happened in the two previous games have gone away, but we still got very lucky on a couple situations, coverage wise that should have been touchdowns. Quite frankly, that we got away with, but our numbers were down.
I know after losses, you guys usually employ the 24-hour rule and move on after that. Obviously, a win, your players are going to be happy about that. How do you make sure they can keep that in check, though, and not be overconfident going up against a formidable USC team?
Yeah, if that's an issue, wow. We'll approach it the same way. We will approach it exactly the same way. We'll talk about some of the things that we're, talking about right now in terms of mental errors, progression issues, blitz issues that might be similar things that USC could or has done in the past, and then we move on. And flip on the tape of USC would be another thing that would get my attention really quickly in every phase. They are outstanding. Quarterback playing at a very high level, bunch of skill guys, defensively exceptionally talented, very well coached. So if that is an issue, we have a much bigger problem.
How about Ryan? Okay. Well, Ryan.
Settle down, Dave.
Jimmy Swain's racked up quite a few tackles the last two games. When you look at the film, how is he playing overall, and how much has he helped you guys in that spot, with some attrition there?
Glad you called on Ryan. Perfect segue. Jimmy Swain was our defensive player of the week this week. The scout defensive player of the week was Cam McCormick. And I'll get back to your question. Offensively, we had co-offensive players of the game, Tony Brooks James, and Jaylen Brown. And then the scout of the week was Eric Briscoe. Special teams player of the game was Aiden Schneider, and the scout special teams player of the week was Jarrett Lacoste. I think Jimmy is really a byproduct of kind of how we've modified defensively, how he plays faster. He's playing with more confidence, more just everything he does has more assertiveness to it. We had more collisions in this game than we've had in any other game. I thought both he, Lana did some very good things. Again, still plenty to improve upon. But he's just playing faster and more freely.
Rob, do you have a segue question?
It's not a segue, unfortunately. 2 of the 3 picks, I think, were on third and long situations. You had that pass rush group with Jonah down at end and Henry and TJ inside. How much of an impact do you think they had, just and the benefit of getting a 4-man pass rush?
Yeah, we did a much better job of playing coverage yesterday, and then you got to get there. You got to couple that with a pass rush, and so that was one thing that defensively we kind of made a commitment to. Still, we're kind of down the middle too much on some guys. just in terms of negating the pass rush. But those guys, I think, as they get the chemistry of whether it's line games or who's responsible for what, I think that group will get better and better.
In the back.
Coach, it seemed like Carrington and Jalen Brown had a number of blocks downfield that opened up some big plays. How much pride does the receiving group take in those blocks?
They take a great deal of pride. Coach Lubick does a great job of reinforcing that, of coaching not only the technique, but it's a mentality, in a lot of ways. This was not our best game on the perimeter, and we gave those guys a talking to a few times on the sideline of how that went down. Jalen came back. That was right. He came back great and had the big time play in the passing game over the top, and then he came right back and did a great job in the run game. So. Again, it's a mentality and something that they're very committed to.
Coach, going back to Jalen, how critical has he been filling in for some of those injured guys, Dwayne, Devin, and really helping out with the outside receiver group?
Jalen's just a stud, almost like a Tony James type guy of kind of the understudy is now, the key player and a guy that we just believe a ton in, does everything 100 miles an hour, played very hard, pretty well on special teams. Some things that he can do better there, but just a guy that brings a lot to the table and just his pride, his character, and then he also makes some plays.
Mark, after looking at the tape, what were some of the identifiers that you saw on the defense where they really showed improvement? It seems like they played the most complete game defensively yesterday that maybe we've seen in several weeks.
We played better. There's still so many things that we need to improve upon, but there were more collisions. Like I said, that's something that we could actually quantify. We had, more collisions, and that's guys lined up and playing with confidence. And so that needs to continue. Still fitting in the run game was an issue at times. As we all talked about, we knew kind of what we thought they were going to do, and they did in terms of how they tried to run the ball. Got to give them credit with some of the, a couple of trick plays were great as far as, they had a couple of things that were, what's the best way? Like a couple formations where they were 100% this, and then they had the gadget off of it, got us. But still, pad level, tackling, all those things we have to improve upon.
Kristen?
I know it's still really early in his career, but a lot of people have been making those comparisons between Herbert and Marcus. And, Bill Musgrave's name was thrown in there yesterday just because of the record. You said last night that you want to shy away from making those comparisons. I'm curious as to if at all in his career, would you make comparisons between quarterbacks, or at what point do you start comparing quarterbacks?
I think that's so, that's your wheelhouse. And I think they're how they approach, how hard they practice, how diligent they are in their preparation. Their personalities are similar at this point. But happy birthday to Marcus Mariota, by the way, today. I think we need to throttle back a little bit on the Norm Van Brocklin and Dan Fouts and everybody else as one.
How much do you talk to him about just be Justin Herbert? Don't try and emulate what Marcus did or another quarterback here. How often does that come up?
We talk about him, and certainly of his personality and his skill set is different, and how he thinks and how he reacts and how he approaches things are different, similar but different, and so that's, you always have to try to play the game through the quarterback's head, and that's sometimes more difficult than others from a psychological standpoint, or how they respond to great things, how they respond to adversity, so I thought he, post game and in the game, he saw what happened that was good or bad, and knew why it happened one way or the other, and seemed pretty humble afterwards. So that's a good thing.
Chantel, do you have anything?
Yeah. Can you hear me okay?
Yep. Check.
I was just curious. You said Sam Darnold is playing at a high level, USC's quarterback, Sam Darnold. I was just curious, though, have you seen anything in his play that sort of explains why he's been able to spark the USC offense so well after Clay Helton made the move to him as the starter?
Unfortunately, I've seen a lot too much, way too much. He's a fantastic player. You know, he's a guy that we got to know in recruiting a little bit, and you know, obviously chose to go to SC. And he's a fantastic player. He's tough. He's a lot more mobile, I think, than people give him credit for. And then just has, you know, elite star, whatever the right adjectives are, guys at every position. You know, they're deep at tailback, wide out, tight end, front guys. They're just playing at a very high level.
Thanks.
Sure.
Anything else?
Nope.
Sorry, Mark.
You haven't probably gotten a lot of sleep in the last several weeks with this losing streak. Did you sleep better last night? What was last night like for you as you went home?
It was the sleep was not good. Yes, in season sleep's not good. I mean, look at my face. You can tell.
Chantel, do you have anything else?
No, I'm good. Thanks.
Thanks.
Everybody here good?